launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans.
Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by.
Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Wednesday edition. It's Hump Day, dogs, of the JP Peterson Show. But we got lots to get to today. There will be some spirited, and I mean spirited, discussions today. Got a couple of great guests coming on. Greg Auman, who covers the NFC South for Fox Sports, will join us at 11 o'clock. Dave Archer, radio analyst for the Atlanta Falcons, will join us at 11:30 to discuss the Lamar Jackson situation and what's going on up in Atlanta. I think that's one of the teams that most people thought would jump in with 2 feet to get Lamar Jackson, but that is not happening. The curious case of what's going on with Lamar Jackson. Is it collusion? Is it racism? Is it smart financial decisions? Who knows? But it's a great debate. We will have it today. And Aaron Rodgers could be headed to the Big Apple. Oh, my. Oh, that could get very, very interesting. So we got a great show for you today. And the Bolts win 5-2. But have they solved all their issues? Certainly they have not. So lots to get to today. And there's Bucs news as well. I'll say good morning to my co-host and soon-to-be married Nick Geddes. What's up, brother?
I was going to say this is my last show before I'm gone for 10 days.
Yeah. You will be betrothed when you come back.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
I'll be ready to show off.
And I may not be alive, having to run the show by myself for 7 days. I could, my head could spontaneously combust. But
should we get that out of the way? Since you're going to be running the show for the next whatever, how many days, shows there are.
Yeah.
Everybody take it easy on JP over here.
Yeah, there'll be a couple of glitches here and there because it's difficult to extemporaneously talk, for 2 hours without a script and also keep in mind all the little buttons that you have to push to do all that stuff. It's very, very difficult, but I will give it my best shot in the next few days. So, but it'll be fun. We're gonna have a bunch of co-hosts coming in for some more extended periods of time. So, you will be missed for sure. But I got you here today to abuse. So
abuse? I don't think so. I've already heard some of your arguments for some of these topics today.
Yes.
You ain't abusing anything.
Be winning again all the time. All right, so we got lots to get to. We're going to go a little bit more in depth on the Lightning in a little bit. We got John Cooper's short press conference from last night. And we're not going to sit here and say last night, oh, everything's fixed, we're good now, as that's not the case. This team really does have some issues that they've got to sort out before the playoffs. And not to say that they still can't make a deep run, but I think these last couple of weeks have certainly exposed some warts on this team. But the bounce back last night was impressive. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. Want to jump in with the Buccaneers and what's going on in the NFL. Obviously, huge stories all around the NFL. And the Bucs saying goodbye to Donovan Smith, the worst-kept secret of the offseason probably. Everybody knew this was happening. He's a cap casualty. And I think when you look back at Donovan's career, you have to say that he was an excellent draft pick, certainly fulfilled what you would hope a second-round draft pick would fulfill at left tackle. He played a lot. He was never a star tackle, but he was always available. I think he only missed 6 games in his career, only 2 misses in the last 5 years. He played extremely well in the Super Bowl season and in 21. Last year got injured early on with a dislocated elbow and really played with one arm, which is almost impossible to do in the NFL when you're going up against the best pass rushers, the Micah Parsons of the world. He did his best, but his contract situation was prohibitive. The Bucs knew it. He knew it. And he'll move on. He will start for another team next year at left tackle and be a serviceable tackle. Donovan's early career to me was uneven at best. I thought that he was inconsistent. He at some times he could look like the best left tackle in the game, and other times he could look like the worst. A lot of it was effort or lack thereof. He became a really good professional, a really good teammate. I think losing Ali Marpet really, really bothered him. I think the injury bothered him more. But he'll make more money, and he'll play probably another 4 or 5 years in this league if he wants to. and he's already made a lot of money. And I would say thank you, Donovan Smith, for your service, for helping us win that Super Bowl, and good luck to you, my friend.
Yeah, you said excellent draft pick, and I know a lot of people are probably going, how do you call that an excellent draft pick with no Pro Bowls and no All-Pros and none of that kind of stuff? He was an 8-year starter at left tackle.
At left tackle.
At
Premium
left tackle.
position.
Premium position. You got 8 years of starting production out of him. We can break down, if you want, some of those years, I guess. You kind of mentioned it already, that it was very uneven. I'd probably say he's one of the more polarizing players in Buccaneers history. There's a lot of people who I was reading to the comments yesterday, and I'm always uneasy about these things. I know fans are fans, but for somebody who gave you 8 years, and all I really care about was in the year that he needed to be great, he was great.
He was great.
That's really, in the end of the day, that's all I really care about.
Yeah.
And the way that people were kind of talking about him yesterday, as if he was like just worthless, did nothing for 8 years, and all this kind of stuff. Fans are fans. I get it. I'm a fan, and I'm sure I've said some things about Donovan Smith over the years, too. I understand. But he was great in the Super Bowl year.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for.
Well, a second-round picks, there's no guarantees that these guys are going to be great players.
No, and
If
start
you
8
find
years?
a starter for 8 years in the second round, that's a great pick. That's a great pick. It's a good career. That's a good to excellent career at left tackle. Come on now. I mean, we got to be a little bit even. Is he going to be a Hall of Famer or Ring of Honor? No. Not every player is. This just in. And if he's not that, then he's a bum.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean
there is a middle ground, folks.
And that doesn't mean I don't think the Bucs should have moved on from him.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. They kind of – I would have moved on from him probably regardless of the cap kind of hell that they're in at the moment. But given an $18 million cap hit, there was no way he was going to be here.
Well, and this is what it all comes down to. And so much of what we're going to talk about today has to do with the salary cap. So many people make arguments based on the entire global view, right? Okay, and we'll get into this with Lamar Jackson. Is Lamar Jackson a great player? Yes, he's an amazing player. Is Donovan Smith a good left tackle? Yeah, he's a good left tackle. When healthy, he's a good left tackle. He's not a bad one. He's not an average one. I'd say he's good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think Donovan Smith is a 6.5, 7 when he's healthy, and that's good. That you can work with that. You should be able to, as a coaching staff, work with that. And the Bucs have their particular situation. They got to pay Tristan Wirfs. He's going to be a Hall of Fame tackle. He can work the left side, I believe, because he's that good. He's that athletic. It will take a little while for him to get the dominant arm, the dominant step, but he's so freaking talented, so young, so good. I don't think there's any question that he can handle it. And they also have a situation where they have two guys that have played right tackle in college, in Robert Hainsey and Luke Gedeke. Gedeke, a second-round pick, invested in him. He seemed to play better at right tackle against the Falcons, and so he's cheap, relatively speaking. He's cheap, and Hainsey is cheap. They're still on their rookie contracts from second and third round. So just in terms of, how much are you paying your tackles? Well, you got to pay Tristan anyway. So now you got a guy on a rookie contract. It works. It works. It really fits well together. And I think that offensive line right there with Tristan Wirfs, Hainsey at left guard or Leverett, Brian Jensen at center, Shaq Mason at right guard, and Hainsey or Gedeke at right tackle. I think that's a really good offensive line. I think that's a really good offensive line with the potential to be great.
Well, it gets your best players. The best 5 are going to be out there.
Exactly.
And we couldn't say that last year.
Right. And also now you have a system and a quarterback that is going to be much more friendly to the offensive line in terms of not being one-dimensional and pass rushers being able to tee off. Pass rushers could bring their freaking starting blocks out to the field. They didn't have to move backwards.
Yeah.
They knew that they weren't waiting for the run. All they had to do was just take off to go get Brady.
Yeah.
So it's going to help the linemen tremendously in that regard. So I think now this is an obvious move for the Bucs, and it really has nothing to do with whether Donovan Smith is a great player, good player, or whatever. He is what he is. This is a salary cap move.
Yeah, and who's to say they don't draft somebody early at tackle as well?
Sure.
Because if you look at, and this is from Pewter Report's interview tracker, which I was looking at this morning, they interviewed 4 offensive tackles. The only position on offense that they interviewed more guys formally was tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So tight end and offensive tackle at least from the interview standpoint, they're telling you is kind of their emphasis at the moment offensively.
Yep.
So I think that kind of tells you that, and Jason Licht loves to draft a lot of offensive linemen. He's pumped a lot of draft capital in that over the year.
Yep.
So I would imagine that they're going to.
Smart.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I would imagine, like, what if there's a scenario where they go, you know what, let's go get a left tackle, right? And if we want to keep Tristan at right tackle, we can always do that, and then we can have somebody else that is a natural left tackle play there. So I think that option is still on the table.
Sure.
Honestly.
Sure. Yeah.
It depends how the draft goes, obviously.
If a good left tackle falls to you and you can get him on a rookie contract to play for 5 years, that's a huge win.
Yes.
And the Bucs are in a position right now where they need to take the best available player and stock their roster with the best available players, regardless of position, quite frankly, except running back and wide receiver. I think the other needs are way more pressing. So yeah, I totally agree with you, and I don't. That's why I think everything is on the board, and that's why I think they're going to try to pick up more draft picks as they go through the situation, either trading down or trading players between now and the draft. So we shall see. But so this brings us to the next topic that everybody was talking about on Twitter last night. Obviously, the Bucs don't have a quarterback, so why aren't the Bucs going after Lamar Jackson, MVP? Would you care to take a shot at that first?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
First and foremost, once again, this is a salary cap league, and the Buccaneers are probably one of the most, obviously they're the most over the cap in the league, and they are the least likely to be able to maneuver to do this. That being said, they could do it if they wanted to, but think about this. It's not just giving up the 2 first-round picks when you have a roster to replenish. And once again, think salary cap. First-round picks, while they sound, wow, they're your most expensive draft pick. Yeah, but if you hit on those picks, they're the cheapest, best players that you have in terms of a financial production ratio, right? That's why these draft picks are so important. It's not just how they play. It's the fact that they play cheaper, so you can overpay to go get the free agents that fill in where you missed in the draft. That's kind of how that works, right? So that's why so sometimes we go, wow, these picks never pan out. Well, that's true, and it's a shot in the dark, but you got to hit on some of these, you got to get, what was Kelsey, a 5th rounder? You got to get some of these 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders that become great players. Get a Rondé Barber that becomes a Hall of Famer from 3rd round pick. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you go back and look at all those teams. They drafted well, and they got some really, really good players on cheap deals, and then they filled in with other players like a quarterback that you got to pay way more than they're probably actually worth in terms of a salary cap distribution for a whole team. But that's kind of how it works, because quarterbacks are hard to find, which brings us to Lamar Jackson. Not only do you have to give up the 2 first-round picks, which are going to keep you from building the rest of the roster, but you're probably going to have to get rid of 1 or 2 of your players that you really want to keep, like a Chris Godwin or these other players that are making big money, Vita Vea, somebody like that. So you're going to have to gut your team of at least 1 or 2 really good players in order to get Lamar Jackson, because he wants guaranteed money in the $250 to $300 million range. Now, there have been stories out there that he was holding out to get $300 million guaranteed, and definitely wants more than Deshaun Watson got at $230 million guaranteed. And here's the problem with Lamar, and we can talk about how great of a player he is and just go down the list, and I agree. The dude is a phenomenal player. No question, MVP, 46-19 as a starter. All that stuff, the number 1 offense, all the bad running backs that they've had, the injured, or not bad, but injured running back, lack of wide receivers, all that stuff. The dude is a great player. But when you want that much money guaranteed, and this is why we don't have guaranteed contracts in the NFL, if you're going to step up and pay him $250 to $300 million guaranteed dollars, and that's probably going to be in the $50 to $60 million a year range, right? So let's say 250 over five years. I don't know where do we start with there's $50 million that Aaron Rodgers is getting, right? So and to guarantee that money, what happens if Lamar gets hurt like the last 2 years? And you have to build your entire offense around him. So it's not like it's going to be easy to find backup quarterbacks that can just step up and play in his stead. We look at what Lamar did as a starter. What did his backups do? Nothing. You can't win. because nobody is Lamar Jackson. Your setup is like without that piece.
Hey, Tyler Huntley's a Pro Bowler now.
Yeah.
Okay, easy there.
He's not even that bad. He's not a bad player at all. But even he can't step in and put the cape on.
No.
You know, because he does so much. He's such
because he's unique.
Yeah, he's unique. He's almost his own worst enemy. He's such a unique chess piece, so to speak. But so here's the thing. So what you're gambling is, if I pay him that $300 million guaranteed and he gets hurt, I'm toast. I'm toast. Like, I'm dead in the water. My entire franchise is dead in the water until that guaranteed money runs out. I can't go get another quarterback on the free agent market. I could draft one, but how hard is that to draft one? Plus, you're giving up. You need those draft picks to fill out the rest of your roster. So you're basically saying we're going all in, and if he stays healthy, we got a chance. We don't have a great chance because it's going to be hard to fill out the rest of the roster, but we got a chance to be a better quarterback. I know everybody wants to say you got to have the quarterback. You got to have the quarterback. Yes, you do. You do have to have the quarterback. But I rarely see a Super Bowl team that wins and it's just the quarterback. Oh, the rest of the roster's crappy, but the quarterback, hey, he elevated everything. No, you got to have a good roster and a good quarterback. And I don't think you can do both if you're going to pay Lamar Jackson $300 million, $250 million guaranteed, give up draft picks, and have to cut good players on your team.
And let's be honest here too.
Tell me how. And just for the chance, there's no guarantee you're winning the Super Bowl with that mix. In fact, I would tell you no, because you got to build a roster, and you can't do it with that type of setup. That's my argument against Lamar.
And the other thing you have to consider with Lamar, this whole like match the deal or 2 first-round picks things, a lot of people are not really putting it out there. It's not as simple as, okay, here's 2 first-round picks, give us Lamar now, or match it. It's more, here's 2 first-round picks. The Ravens, I think, are going to match anybody that comes forward with 2 first-round picks and say, okay, we'll match the deal, right?
Right.
What's going to end up happening is those teams are now going to have to give up 2 first-round picks, and then they're going to have to put even more on that offer. That's how this works. I think a lot of people are just saying, oh, it's as simple as here's 2 first-round picks. The Ravens have the decision to match this deal or get the 2 first-round picks. No. It becomes a negotiating thing between the Ravens and said team, and they can offer the Ravens can ask for 2 first-round picks and a lot more in exchange for not signing that or matching the offer. So that's what makes it, I think, difficult for a lot of these teams, especially adding on the fact, like you said, you have to pay all this guaranteed money. Where we differ is I have no problem giving them the money that's guaranteed. I just don't, because you kind of made the argument a little bit there. I like quarterbacks who win. 46-19 tells me that. Not every quarterback wins early in the postseason. Let's keep in mind he's only 26 years old.
Playoff record doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me. Let's not act like the Ravens have done the best job of supporting Lamar Jackson offensively. No. Maybe they've tailored the offense to him. That's good. But they've had a litany of injuries at running back. They can't keep a single one healthy. Wide receiver, the only one that they drafted that turned out to be something was Marquise Brown. And what did they do? They traded him to go get a safety, Kyle Hamilton, because that's what the Ravens do. They value defense, defensive head coach. That's all good. But the Ravens have failed to come into 2023 and football and how to win, right? And even receivers, like the ones that are promising, Rashad Bateman's of the world, can't stay healthy. So it's basically the Lamar and Mark Andrews show is what it's been.
Right.
And with that being said, he's still 46-19 as a starter. The Ravens last year were pretty much unwatchable without him.
Right.
Right? And I have to compare him to the contracts that get signed around the league. We felt comfortable enough. No, I didn't, but the Cardinals did, giving Kyler Murray $190 million guaranteed.
Yep.
Really?
Stupid. And here's the thing. People are going to point to these other contracts and say, see, they got it. Doesn't mean it was right.
Doesn't mean it was right, but I'm saying from Lamar Jackson's perspective.
But they were held hostage. The Cardinals are a terrible, dumb organization anyway.
Truthfully, yes.
So they got held hostage by Kyler Murray, and they gave in. They didn't have to give in. They could have done the same damn thing that the Ravens are doing. And let if Kyler wanted to sit out, let him sit out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to have some coyones and call their bluff. And that, by the way, that's what they're doing here. I don't want to interrupt your argument like I just did, but
no, you're good. And then my thing is, like, what's so weird about this yesterday And I know everybody's calling about collusion and all this stuff. And listen, I'm not going to put it past the NFL. This is the NFL. There might be collusion going on. That's a separate issue.
Yeah.
But for there to immediately be 5 teams, all of whom have not had much quarterback success in a long time,
Right.
to immediately come out and say, no, we're not interested in the former MVP who's 45-16. We're not even interested. We don't even want to negotiate. We're good. That's weird. That's weird, the timing of all that.
And this is interesting, too, and that's why I want to have Dave Archer on the show at 11:30, because I'm not exactly, don't know obviously as much as him about the Falcons, because the Falcons seem to me to be a really good fit. They're in a good salary cap situation. They're an up-and-coming team, right? And they have Desmond Ridder. And people say, well, exactly, they have Desmond Ridder. Well, that, giving him the guaranteed money and him getting injured, okay, you kind of got somebody to fall back on that could maybe step in and win you some games and is still on his rookie contract for another 3 years. So that gives you a little bit of safety net there, whereas I don't know if other teams have that. So I think there's situations here that would be good for Lamar. And if I were in those situations, I would go get him. And I think the Falcons might be one of those, which is why I wanted to talk to Dave and see what he thinks, because the Falcons fans are going bananas.
Yeah, and even for like a team like Miami, this is what I don't understand. So I mean, Lamar Jackson's from Miami. He's got a house in the off season that he lives in Miami, right? So the connections are there. He seems like a kind of guy that would thrive there. I mean, you put him in the offense with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, a bright offensive mind, and Mike McDaniel. It seems like it'd be fun, right?
Yeah.
And Stephen Ross. But yeah, Stephen Ross, you mean to tell me he would be interested in going after Tom Brady, but he's not interested in going after Lamar Jackson? I can't. I understand it's short term versus long term. Yeah. There's a lot more risk, I guess, associated with Lamar.
He's probably uneasy paying the $300 million, $280, whatever wants guaranteed. That's what probably with Stephen Ross. And let's be honest, Stephen Ross has a man crush on Tom Brady forever. If he could get him for 1 year, that would be, he don't even care. It would just be the greatest thing ever. He can have it'd be like Step Brothers, for a whole year, and he could make his little documentary, whatever. But I'm with you on that. Like, Miami seems like, and I have to look a little bit closer at their salary cap situation, but yeah, that seems like a place that he would be a pretty good fit. So, I think there are places out there where this does work, and some of them, like the Falcons, who just come out and say no. And that's where I would say collusion comes in. And I know I heard Chris Canty bring up, Colin Kaepernick and the collusion there. There's never any collusion there.
That doesn't make any sense, because the Deshaun Watson, to me, threw that argument out the water.
Exactly. And the racism stuff. I mean, come on. This is the NFL.
No, I don't think it's a thing like that with Lamar Jackson. I think I said this last week. The big issue with him is it's time to let mommy go. Okay.
Oh my God.
I don't mean to be disrespectful. It's Lamar's business, but listen, if he had an agent right now that was looking out in the best interest of almost himself as well, and could be talking to all these other teams and really, the verbiage and the art of negotiating. I don't know his mom's background. I don't think she has a background in that kind of stuff.
She doesn't have the connections. This is how this works, okay? And Kimberly Martin's talked about this on Get Up this morning, and it's something we've talked about before, and she's 100% right. If he had an agent, that agent would already have known which teams out there are interested in Lamar Jackson, how much money guaranteed. He would have already been. This contract would have been negotiated already. Oh, but that's tampering. It goes on all the time, and that's why you have an agent, because the agent knows how to do this legally. Well, not legally, but knows how to get it done. And the league has no problem with it. Okay, it's a weird thing. I know it doesn't make sense, and it's not logical, but these agents, look, they know every one of these general managers. They know all the other agents. They know a lot of these agents have the same 10, 15 quarterbacks on their roster. So they have already talked to these other teams, and some of them, if you're an agent and you have 6 clients on the let's say on the Ravens team or the Falcons team, and you also represent Lamar Jackson, you could call that said general manager and talk about your clients, and then at the end of the conversation, hey, any interest in my other guy? I mean, not like these calls are being recorded, right? And he would know his market out there. This is the biggest problem right now is he doesn't know what his market is because he doesn't have an agent. He would already know what the market is if he had an agent. So now the Ravens have been trying to tell him, dude, nobody out there is giving you $300 million guaranteed. Take the 180 we're offering and let's put a team together.
And that's why.
And let's go.
And that's why
and
they're
he's like,
confident.
No, he got 240. He got this. He got that. Somebody's going to give it to me. And they're like, you're a different situation. You're a different type of quarterback. You get injured by the way that you play. Look at the last 2 seasons. We're okay with it. We love you. But we've got to. We're working within parameters here. If we didn't have a salary cap, if we didn't have to pay these other players, man, we'd back up the Brinks truck. We love you, but we're trying to put this team together, and this is where you fit. We'll be happy to give you 180. That's a lot of money, by the way. And hopefully you'll play out the entire contract, and we'll pay you $500 million. And we'll win 3 Super Bowls because we'll have a team around you. This is what the Ravens are saying. It's like, come on, let's get on board. And I think Lamar's going, nope, I can get more out there. And he's going to find out he can't.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to end up coming back to the
And
Ravens.
I think that's why the Ravens were so confident in giving him the non-exclusive tag.
Exactly.
And exposing him to other teams because they have an idea of what the market is. They know that whatever offer is going to come in, they're just going to match it anyway.
Right.
Right?
Right. And maybe they're wrong. It only takes one.
It only takes one team to go crazy here. But
it only takes one. And I don't dismiss. I say idiot in terms of smart general managers know that it's very difficult.
And the team that I keep going back to, though, I told you before the show would be fun. Would be Washington. Yeah. I don't know if they were one of the teams that ruled out publicly. I don't know, but I thought they'd be fun. And I said this also whenever Brady. Before he had retired, like looking at just possible definite destinations, I thought that team has a proven head coach in Ron Rivera. Bieniemy goes over there now, something to prove. They have the weapons on offense. Mm-hmm. They have a really good defense, and they're an organization that is dying for some buzz and for something good. An owner that's probably desperate to get the attention off of him.
Yeah.
Now you get the shiny quarterback. You're a hero because you paid Lamar Jackson. Everybody loves you. I think Washington, would be a sneaky team if they really wanted to get on this. And they've had quarterback issues for a long time.
For a long time, yeah.
So I think it makes sense. Now, will they really realistically do this? I don't think so at the end of the day.
Well, this is a guy that, charges his team to put the logo on his own plane. I mean, he's about money and going into his pocket, not into Lamar Jackson's pocket. So I don't think they have the stomach for it, to be honest with you, to pay that much guarantee. And they're a disaster at an organization. But I do get your point in terms of the on-field fit. Absolutely. That's the whole thing, folks. It's like you get enamored by the on-field stuff, and it's crazy. It's dizzying watching him play and how good he is and how crazy it is. But then you have to factor in all the other things. This is a team game. It's a team game, and you've got to build a solid roster to win a Super Bowl. And you also have to factor in it is a collision sport, and he plays the game unlike any other quarterback. And oftentimes it leads to big hits. And
let's be honest, and again, because they're in the AFC, it really kind of changes things too with how you have to think. Because as we've been saying, that conference right now is going to be dominated by Mahomes and Burrow for the next 10 whatever years,
and
right?
Josh Allen.
I guess you could throw Josh Allen, Herbert if they maximize their potential.
Absolutely.
It's tough sledding in the AFC. We know that for the next 10, 15 years.
Yep.
And if you're the Ravens, you're also in the same division as Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost like you're fighting for second place.
Yeah.
At this point. I mean, I hate to have that mentality, but you almost are at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you give Lamar Jackson all this money, let's just say you pay him right now. Do I think of the Ravens any differently going forward? Probably not. As a Super Bowl contender.
But I think of him as a Super Bowl contender.
Would I think of him as a Super Bowl contender if they gave Lamar Jackson $300 million tomorrow? The answer is no, because I think there's still a lot of teams that are in front of them in the AFC, and you're strapped then from what you can do to make that roster better, and I don't think it's ready to get to that point yet.
Exactly, yeah.
So I know I'm kind of playing both sides a little here, because I really want to see this guy get paid. Because at the end of the day, I always say, I like to see good people get paid.
Sure.
because I feel like there's too many bad dudes who always get the money, and the good ones never do. And I think Lamar Jackson gets an unfair rap for maybe immaturity, and I hate that they tried to make him a receiver. The disrespect when he was coming out of college, basically, is what bothered me.
Me too.
And I love that he smashed through all those narratives, and I just hate that the goalposts continue to get changed for this guy as a player. And take the whole money, the injury out of I hear people on all these shows all the time. Everybody's talking about Lamar Jackson's not an MVP type guy anymore.
Oh, come on.
You can't do this with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson this, Lamar Jackson that. He just keeps winning games.
Yeah.
That's why I keep going to bat for Lamar Jackson to get the money, really.
And listen, I said it when Cleveland made the deal for Deshaun Watson, I said they're dead. Cleveland had built a roster and was moving forward. You could say Baker Mayfield, whatever, but he took them to the playoffs and they won a playoff game. They were building a roster. And when they've got Deshaun Watson, they had to give up all the draft picks and the guaranteed money, and they're toast. They're not going to be anything. And guess what? He's not that good anymore, Deshaun. I mean, he'll be better this year, I hope. But that was a disastrous move, and that has doomed the Cleveland Browns to another, 5 to 7 years of mediocrity. They're not going anywhere with that deal and with him. Sorry, I don't see it happening. And then you go look at Patrick Mahomes' contract.
He had a $31 million cap hit in 2022.
And 10 years ago, that's unheard of. But guess what? Looks like a bargain right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With Aaron Rodgers' cap hit going to be what, $60 million? You just can't in a salary cap. And I know the salary cap's going up, by the way, and it went up $25 million this year. It'll probably go up another $25 million next year. So in that way, there is some room to.
And that's why there's only one team going after Aaron Rodgers right now, by the way.
Right.
Exactly. Aaron Rodgers has no market.
Right.
It is Packers, retire, Jets.
Yeah, that's it.
And the Packers probably don't even want to pay him that either.
The Packers are out.
I think
the
Packers are scared right now to just tell Aaron, hey, we don't want you.
Yeah.
And I feel like Aaron's scared to tell the Packers, hey, we don't want you.
He's going to be a Jet by the end of the day. I don't think there's any.
By the end of the day?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah, I think.
You think it's happening today?
The Jets were out with him last night in California.
Well, I hope they can close.
Yeah. I can't see him going back to Green Bay at this point. Like what Gutekunst said that last time. Like they're ready to move on to Jordan Love. No,
they need to move. It's the way Rodgers talks about the Packers in public and the way the Packers talk about Rodgers in public.
Yeah.
It's like they're having like this like conversation that should be happening, behind closed doors out in the public.
Right.
And they won't meet with each other just to rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. And when I mean get it over with, I mean split.
Yeah. Like
the Packers want to see Jordan Love. They want to get $60 million off their books because they know they can't win at this moment.
Right.
And that's why the Raiders aren't going after Aaron Rodgers because that's $60 million. Yeah. Does Aaron Rodgers make the Raiders a Super Bowl contender tomorrow at 38 years old? No.
Does he play defense? Can he play corner? Can
he
tackle anybody?
No.
No, he can't. So no, that's a hard no.
So his situation's a lot more easier to figure out.
Right. It's a and I think right now we're going through a situation in the NFL where teams are trying to figure it out. Like, can you give the guaranteed money and keep that guy? I think we're going to see the experiment with Kyler Murray is going to be a disaster. You're going to see this experiment with Deshaun Watson is going to be a disaster. These are going to be cautionary tales until the NFL comes up with some rule where you can guarantee money, and then if that guy gets hurt, like long-term, like the NHL has, where you can shelve that money for a couple of years or a year or whatever and bring in somebody else. This is always going to be a problem with this sport because the injury bug it's too prevalent, and to sink all that money into one player who in one play could be gone, and your whole team is built around it. It's not a good business decision. In any other business, would you do that? Hey, I'm going to sell this one car, and it's only this car. Now, if it breaks down a lot, but it's a really, really, really good car, and you should pay a lot of money for it. And by the way, if that one breaks down, my whole business goes to crap. Well, that's not a good business model.
Yeah.
It's not a good business model in any way, shape, or form. So can't be done. All right, you guys are lighting it up, the comment section. We want to get to that, but we got to hit our first break here. We'll get to all your comments. We'll put them up, and we will discuss with you. Lots to get here today. We will also have Greg Allman coming on 11 o'clock. Dave Archer from Falcons Network, former NFL quarterback, will illuminate more on the Lamar Jackson situation. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you're involved in an accident or any other legal matter that you need an attorney, the Jeeves Law Group, extremely aggressive. And Bay Area Modern Medical Center for testosterone replacement, losing weight, just getting better. It's Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Back in 3. Tour's Valspar Championship returns this March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of golf action plus a host of fun activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. Sam Burns, who won in a thrilling playoff last year, is looking to make it 3 wins in a row on the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. He will be challenged by a top field that includes Jordan Spieth, returning for the first time in 5 years. The 2015 Valspar champ counts 13 PGA Tour victories, including 3 majors in his career. It will be a great field and great fun. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. Hey guys, JP here for the Gold and Diamond Source. There is no better place to shop for jewelry than the Gold and Diamond Source. We know that. They are the family jewelers, and they will treat you like family. It's always a fun experience. Just head on over there. You will not find a better selection anywhere in the world. It's a jewelry super center. They've got engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, pendants, chains, and thousands of diamonds to choose from. They're all right there. They don't have to ship anything in. They have jewelry for every price range as well. Guys, if you're looking for some of those baller watches, they have a great selection. They have new and used. You can get some great collectibles there as well. And if you're looking for some more affordable gold and diamond jewelry, you have to check out the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Emily created this collection for people who want to wear and stack elaborate jewelry but don't want to pay the big ticket prices. You got to check this stuff out. The Golden Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, interest-free financing for up to 5 years, and a layaway program, 20% down and only 6 monthly payments. And this month only, get up to 15% off the March birthstone, which is aquamarine. Like we always say, keep it local, folks. The Golden Diamond Source, Julie and Steve Weintraub, such great philanthropic benefactors. So let's keep it all local here when we have the opportunity, right? It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports.
It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Brought to you by the Valspar Championship coming up next week. If you haven't gotten your tickets, you got to get them now. Selling out fast. The Owl's Nest, the Snake Pit Club, the Rooftop, all the great premium, plus just the general admission just for Saturday alone. You get the Darius Rucker concert. By the way, you were asking me about the Morgan Wallen concert coming up in May. You were like, oh, you kidding me? It's $250 for lawn seats. $978 for lawn seats.
Oh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started, man.
Bro, you're going to pay $1,000 to sit on the lawn?
People are nuts,
from
man.
500 yards away and see some little dot singing a song?
Did you see this past weekend in Nashville?
Are you effing kidding? What is wrong with you people?
Did you see this past weekend in Nashville what happened?
No.
Okay, so he's doing it real quick. I don't understand the whole allure with Morgan Wallen. I don't. I mean, he's not the second coming. Okay,
I love the songs.
He's not
it's
the
really
second.
Good,
he's not the second coming. But in Nashville, Bridgestone Arena, which seats like close to 20,000 people, it was like 25 to 30,000 people that lined up outside Bridgestone Arena on Saturday to get in line to get tickets at the box office because they were giving away old school style at the box office, a paper ticket.
Oh my God!
30,000 people lined up early in the morning to get tickets.
Are you kidding
Are
me?
you freaking kidding me?
You know what? This is the world we live in. Everything is so about I got to be there. I got to be seen there. I got to get it on my Instagram.
Yeah,
I
so
got to show everybody.
Right here.
So
right
I can,
here. So I can watch it through my little screen.
So I can watch it through a screen. And this is what it's about. It's like it's this group think. It's like, oh, I got to be part of that group. That's the cool group. I got to be part of that group. And it's gotten bigger because we used to be able to just figure it out in the high school. Oh, that's the cool group. But now it's social media. So now the cool group has gotten access to so many more people. So if you're not at the Morgan Wallen concert, you're not one of those people, and you're gonna mortgage your future.
You're gonna risk a whole rent payment or a mortgage payment
just to be seen
to go for 3
on the
hours
lawn at Morgan Wallen.
3 hours of a man with a mullet. Come on.
Come on.
Get out of here.
It's crazy. It's bananas.
He released a 30. If you didn't know, a 36 song album this weekend.
Right.
Who asked for 36 songs on an album?
Nobody.
You remember the days when it used to be like 10 to 12?
8.
10 to 12.
The best albums have 8.
Yeah. How many of those 36 are good songs?
Probably not many.
This was grinding my gears this weekend.
Right. That's
crazy. I hate it. I don't get it.
And I love the music.
It's like the new fad right now.
Like I really want to go, but I'm like now I don't want to go because all you people are so bananas.
No, all you people have ruined it for me.
You've ruined it. You know, it's not even cool anymore. You haven't paid your $5,000 for 2 seats in 25 rows back. That's even that, and you're already passé because to me.
Now with that being said,
anybody got any tickets? More?
No, hold on. With that being said, though, I'll pay $500 to be down at the bottom for George Strait and Chris Stapleton in June at Raymond James Stadium.
Okay.
That I will do.
There's a little bit more longevity there.
It's the King.
Yeah.
It's the King.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the King yet. It's my last bucket list item musically.
Yeah.
I'll pay $500 for that.
This is making sense to me.
This is making sense. Morgan Wallen's in his prime right now.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's see if he has the longevity as King George.
I'll wait a year till it's not cool.
I'll wait a decade, and then he'll be playing Ruth Eckerd Hall, and then I'll. Then I'll go.
That might be a week. I couldn't believe when I went on. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, so lawn seats are $1,000? This can't be true.
For a lawn seat.
For a lawn seat. Listen, if you really want to see something bad and you want to pay $1,000, I would never pay that. I don't care, I don't care if the Beatles came back from the dead. I wouldn't. No.
I was about to say. I don't even know if I would drop $1,000.
If you're super rich, it's even principle-wise, I'm like.
I was gonna say even like a sporting event.
What's the most you've ever paid for a ticket?
The most I've ever paid for a concert or a sporting event?
Either one. I'm trying to remember what the most I've paid.
I paid a lot of money. I actually paid a lot of money to be at that Nashville game last year for the Lightning.
How much you paying?
I paid like $275 a ticket.
Yeah.
So I dropped about a little over $500.
Yeah.
So I dropped over $500 for there. I want to say I paid $250 a ticket to go see Garth Brooks at the Swamp in 2019.
All right.
Totally worth it.
Iconic.
Totally worth it. Iconic. Yeah. I've paid $200 plus for multiple Lightning games before.
Yeah.
Playoff games.
Right. No.
I don't think I've ever gone that far past that though. I would never drop money to go to a Super Bowl.
It's really
I would never.
No.
Even if the Bucs are in it, I wouldn't even do it.
No, because you're talking that's $4,000 for a ticket at the very minimum.
Yeah.
And no, not for stuff I can watch on TV better.
Exactly.
And I'm an experienced guy. Go to the games, pay some money to go to the games, but there becomes a prohibitive price. That's just, and everything's relative, right? That's to what you make. But if you're an average person, maybe a little above average, I just think paying that much for something like that is just insane.
No, I'm good.
And I think a lot of it, especially is, and by the way, I'm not a big crowds guy. I hate crowds. If I'm going to go to something where I know it's a big crowd, I hate to say it, but I gotta have a little room. I'm gonna need a little hospitality. I'm not, I can't be claustrophobic. I can't.
The EDM things that I see all the time, those stress me out. Just looking at it.
So you guys in the chat, what's the most you've paid for a concert ticket or a sporting event ticket? I think the most I paid was I wanted to take my dad to the national championship game in 2013 FSU. And I had a press pass too. But
I would rather go to that than the Super Bowl.
So I went to the FSU National. I think I paid $450 a ticket for me and my dad. And they weren't great seats.
At the Rose Bowl?
At the Rose Bowl, yeah.
I don't feel like there's a bad seat in the Rose Bowl
No,
because it's literally just a bowl.
Yeah, no, there's not. It was fantastic.
See, that to me is worth it, and you get a trip out to California.
Yes.
It's an experience.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
And they win the game. It's like, to me, that you can't even put a price tag on that.
I think that's the most I've ever paid, and it was well worth it. It was
Yeah.
well worth it. But if those tickets were $1,000, no, I probably would not have done that. All right, so some of the comments coming in. Boy, Jordan is all over getting Lamar Jackson. Trade for Lamar. With the weapons we have, we'll be set for years to come. No, we won't. Go all in, give the assets up, and roll the dice. Draft the tackle, and the salary cap increases significantly in the next 2 years. That's true. But the problem is the other players. As soon as we gave up 35 points. We don't have anybody rough to passer. We don't have anybody to cover, their best receiver. Their tight end's killing us. We got to go get this. We got to get. Yeah, sooner or later. I mean, look at these guys that got paid so much money. Kyler Murray. The Cardinals, won 2 games, 4 or 5 games, whatever. Deshaun Watson. A lot of the highest paid players, these quarterbacks, aren't winning squat.
Consider this, by the way.
Aaron Rodgers didn't make the playoffs.
Consider this, by the way, when it comes to the Bucs situation and people wanting Lamar Jackson here. When I say the Bucs have no money, even after releasing Donovan Smith yesterday, and
They're
this
still
is from
30 over the cap, right?
No, how about more? This is from Spotrac. They are projected still $47 million over the cap. Okay, and this is after releasing Donovan Smith, Leonard Fournette, Cam Brate, basically that whole battle plan that we did. Yeah, we're still $47 million over.
Now they could still restructure some contracts.
They have to restructure a lot of contracts. In regards to cutting guys and and not having dead cap hits, the only guy that I have it pulled up right now. The only guy that you could cut and you would save a good chunk of money, and when I say good chunk, it's $5 million, is Shaq Mason, and I don't think they're cutting Shaq Mason. Because you're just creating holes.
They may have to.
May have to. If it comes to, he's the next guy in regards to having. You would save $5 million because he carries $4 million in dead cap. He's at $9.5 million cap hit right now.
Yeah.
After that, you don't have many other guys that you can just release and save money. So that's when the Devin White thing would have came into play if you wanted to go down that route. But you're going to have to start restructuring the Vita Veas, the Carlton Davises.
And first and foremost, if you were to bring Lamar on, and remember, you still have to eat that $35 million cap hit from Brady, the dead cap hit, which I want to. Greg Allman's going to come on at 11 o'clock. I want to ask him about this as well. I think Brady could help. I read this before that Brady could help out by signing a one-year deal, avoidable deal. Which would allow the Buccaneers to spread it out and only take $10 million this year, $24 million next year. And
I thought that he had waived that when he retired, when he did, and filed his papers.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. He could unretire and sign a deal, or could have, for the Buccaneers and made it. And maybe that's a moot point now.
I think, though, the Bucs have settled on the fact that they want to
eat it this year.
And they're not in a position
to
keep
if they eat it
pushing.
This year, there's no way they can bring Lamar on. It's just impossible for them.
No, and I think they've honestly come to terms with that at this point.
Right. So I think it's almost a complete moot point to talk about the Bucs bringing in Lamar. So sorry, Jordan. I mean, it sounds hide a lot of money and bonus money, many ways to manipulate the salary. We get that, But at some point, the Bucs have already done that for 3
But
years.
you bring in Lamar to this team right now. Whoa. There's just too many guys that you're having to offload. You don't have money to go get anybody else.
Right.
This team's just not ready for that.
Yeah.
They're in a bad spot right now to try to do something like that.
And people like Chris Cole, you say Daniel Jones got $160 million. No, he didn't. Daniel Jones got 82?
82 million, and that's what makes it team friendly because that's like
the
2 years
guaranteed
worth
money
of
you
the
got to
deal.
look at. The total contract number is meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. The only thing you look at is the guaranteed money and how fast they can, it becomes not guaranteed. So to me, that deal is probably more of a 3-year, $82 million, or maybe even 4-year, $82 million deal that they can they can offload him if it doesn't work.
That's why the Geno contract is honestly very, very smart from Seattle's standpoint.
That's what, $62 million guaranteed?
It was $52 million
52,
guaranteed.
yeah. That's
So
a 2-year
if he
deal.
bombs and returns to the old Geno Smith, you could still have the option of drafting a quarterback at 5, and then you're out of Geno Smith after a year.
Yeah. What's 16 Super Bowls worth? Lamar ain't winning that. Yeah, so those are.
No, I think he was saying, did he go to 16 Super Bowls?
Who?
Thomas Casper. Because I think that
Oh,
might have been
Thomas
when
went to
we were
16 too?
talking about the events and all that, how much money you paid. I think he's saying, have you been to 16 Super Bowls?
Wow. Mm. Well,
Fascinating.
I can't imagine paying a lot of money for a game I really don't care about. Might be just to go to the Super Bowl.
It's an experience, travel.
Yeah, I guess. Jordan says mine was about Nick paid as well for an outdoor game in Nashville. Set me back about $300. So worth it. Had a blast.
Although I couldn't see anything.
Really?
I was too low.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I was right next to where the lightning came out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah,
I
you
got to
weren't far
see them.
from me,
I
yeah.
got to see them up close and everything.
Oh, well, the lower seats were
the lower
you can't see
seats though.
spot,
It's like I couldn't see anything.
You were watching the game on the jumbotron probably
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole time. Yeah.
And freezing.
Yeah. I loved it. That was great.
But that was a cool experience though.
Yeah, and I think I paid like $150 a ticket for that. $200. No, Lightning did not get tickets. Too many self-indulging wieners with too much bloody money. Yeah, that sounds a lot like the Super Bowl. So look, it's fun. And I wanted to play some of the national sound as well. But before we get to Greg here, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get to Lightning in our second hour as well. But I was watching Get Up this morning, and the talk about collusion with Lamar and all these other things. I just think it's not beyond the NFL's pale to do that. I get it. I don't trust them in any way, shape, or form and things like that. And I do think the owners, when they get together, are like, guys, what are we doing with this guaranteed money for quarterbacks? I guarantee you that's a topic in the room. They're like, we got to get a hold of this, and because it's just franchises know that it's you're putting all the chips in the table, and if that guy gets hurt, they're dead in the water, and they can't sell sponsorship packages, they can't sell season tickets. I mean, it's a huge hit monetarily. It's about the only way that you can assure yourself of not making tons of money every year. That's the only way, and that's what as rich as these owners are, they don't like to take it in the shorts that much. So that's the only thing that can screw them, and I think that they want to avoid it at all.
Yeah, and I mentioned the teams that make, or the quarterbacks who make the most money. And by the way, Jalen Hurts, I don't care what anybody says, has the best contract in the league. He makes $1.5 million per year right now.
Who's that?
Jalen Hurts.
I know.
Kyle Trask makes the same amount of money as Jalen Hurts, by the way. So he's the best value in the league. But, like, look at the top 4 quarterbacks, Rodgers, Russ, Kyler Murray, and Deshaun Watson. What have those guys done in the playoffs in recent memory? Or even made the playoffs in recent memory? None of them made the playoffs this year, no, if I'm correct.
Right.
There you
say
go.
those again.
Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Those are the quarterbacks making north of $45 million in the NFL right now.
Right.
And then you get the Mahomes, Allen, but now you go to Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr. How many playoff wins did Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr have between them? I want to say 2, and they're both Daks.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. I was just looking up how many games that Lamar Jackson has played in the past couple of years. Because is this right? He's only played 12 games in the last 2 years? That's not right.
No, he played 12 games in both seasons.
Oh, 12 games in both seasons. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, where's the playoff success in terms of –
But I think this year, though, I think that because he didn't have his contract, I am under the assumption that he sat out the rest of the season. I feel like he could have came back to play. I don't think
that's
he wanted.
his own fault.
I don't think he wanted to because he didn't have the contract.
Yeah, that was an issue as well.
Because they were right in the middle of a playoff race, and he
Yeah.
just completely shut down. And the verbiage coming from the Ravens side was weird. Like, it was almost they were hiding something.
That's right. Yeah.
I think he probably decided to play it safe and not play.
And that's the right thing to do, especially if he has a knee injury that a partially torn MCL or something like that, where where the knee is not stable and you have a better chance of injuring it more severely. That's absolutely the right thing. But if his money was guaranteed, there was a chance that you might put him out there to play. I don't know. Guys play through some of that stuff. Who knows exactly what was going on? But you're right. The contract situation definitely had something to do with it. No question about it. I just think Lamar not having an agent has not given him enough information.
No, he doesn't understand.
He doesn't know where the market is.
He doesn't realize that he is really screwing himself over in these negotiations. He's allowing – the Ravens are taking advantage of him because Lamar is letting them take advantage of him. That's the thing that's going on here.
The system is set up for you to have an agent to be able to go out and know what your market value is before you actually go out there. I know that doesn't sound right, but that's the way it works. And without an agent, it screws up the system. And this is where you get. And what's going to happen is Lamar will find out what his market value is because he's finding out right now. He'll find out that what the Ravens are offering him is a pretty good deal and the best for him and the best chance for him to win a Super Bowl. And I believe he is a competitive guy and wants to win a Super Bowl. I really believe he's that type of guy. He's a great leader. He's all that. But he needs to get this thing settled, get it behind him, and go play football.
And just to give you, again, a perspective of his winning pedigree – the only three quarterbacks that have won more than Lamar Jackson in the NFL all time, Mahomes, Brady, Staubach. That's the list.
That's amazing.
That's 11 Super Bowls.
That's winning percentage?
That's winning percentage in the NFL all time. Mahomes, Brady, Staubach, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. And
to put that in a perspective for you.
Yeah, that's why I say, Lamar, listen, $180 million guarantees a lot of money, bro. It's a lot of money. And if you stay healthy like you think you're going to do and you play another, 8 to 12 years, you're going to make twice that. You're going to make 4 times that is what you're going to make. So, but you got to work within the team structure a little bit. And 180 is a lot of money. That was the last offer they made. They're probably going to go up higher than that. And the Ravens, it doesn't. And you talk about Miami and all these other players. I don't want him going anywhere. Like he's a Raven. That team, he's made for that team. A tough team, tough city. Like he just fits there, does he not?
Yeah, I would say so.
Like for the league, I want him to stay there, and I want him to that team loves him. And people, they don't love him that much. Well, they're smart enough organization that they realize that they're not going to be competitive if they bow to his whims. As much as people might want to say it's a great, he deserves it. No, you got to be able to work within the team structure from the salary cap situation. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Greg Allman's going to join us, and we'll get some insight into what's going on around the NFC South because there's a lot of changes going on with Derek Carr in New Orleans. Who are the Panthers going to get as their quarterback? So much to talk about, and, of course, the Buccaneers as well. Greg Allman joins us when we come back, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center and the Jeeves Law Group and Italiano Insurance. Get that Italiano Insurance checkup right now and save thousands of dollars. 813-877-7799. Back in 3. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But and they will treat you like family. It's always a fun experience. Just head on over there. You will not find a better selection anywhere in the world. It's a jewelry super center. They've got engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, pendants, chains, and thousands of diamonds to choose from. They're all right there. They don't have to ship anything in. They have jewelry for every price range as well. Guys, if you're looking for some of those baller watches, they have a great selection. They have new and used. You can get some great collectibles there as well. And if you're looking for some more affordable gold and diamond jewelry, you have to check out the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Emily created this collection for people who want to wear and stack elaborate jewelry but don't want to pay the big ticket prices. You got to check this stuff out. The Golden Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, interest-free financing for up to 5 years, and a layaway program, 20% down and only 6 monthly payments. And this month only, get up to 15% off the March birthstone, which is aquamarine. Like we always say, keep it local, folks. The Golden Diamond Source, Julie and Steve Weintraub, such great philanthropic benefactors. So let's keep it all local here when we have the opportunity, right? It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, the Jeeves Law Group, and the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source. If you're looking for that engagement ring, the Golden Diamond Source, the only place to go, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, let's welcome in our good friend Greg Allman from Fox Sports Now, covering the NFC South. What's up, Greg? How are you, my friend?
How you doing? Well, JP. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Little bit of news happening here. We're going to have Dave Archer on from Falcons Radio a little bit later on to kind of get the perspective of the Falcons and Lamar Jackson. I thought that was going to be a good fit for Lamar, but I guess not. I guess the Falcons are out and everybody in Atlanta's going crazy. Take a shot at that situation, why Lamar's not a good fit and what they're doing there.
Yeah, I mean, the two things they have that make it a logical move is a ton of cap space and the absence of any real answer at quarterback.
Right.
So that would seem to make sense. But and I don't know where the hesitation is, whether it's just the idea of committing $200 million or more to a player, any player. It's one of those where, I mean, guys like Lamar, I mean, MVPs still in their prime, they don't really come available very often.
Nope. And
the trick is that not only are you having to pay him top of the line money, you're having to give up 2 first-round picks and potentially more to do it. So I think part of the hesitation might be that the Falcons are picking at 8. It's like you can give up 2 first-round picks, and it's like number 28 and number 25, and you're not necessarily giving up something huge. the Falcons have a solid top 10 pick there that, I mean, can, in theory, give them a big start on improving their pass rush. There's lots of things they can do with that pick. So I think even though they have kind of a window where it makes sense, and I mean, I feel like the Falcons, at least in the last 3 or 4 years, have been much more in the news because of who they've lost, you know, in terms of Matt Ryan getting away, Julio Jones getting away.
Yeah.
And there's a void there. I mean, there's not, if you think about the Falcons, I mean, I don't know who their star player would be right now. You can't really say Kyle Pitts yet. You can't really say Drake London yet. You know, a guy like Cordero Patterson isn't the guy that really is a headliner. So as a franchise, they don't really have a guy you can build around. And this would give them that. But it's very much an all-in type thing, you know. And Lamar, you know, again, we don't know if there are injury concerns because he's missed 10 games in the last 2 years. You know, it's one of those where his style of play is so unique, and obviously they've won with him, but they also haven't had postseason success with him. So it would very much be an all chips to the middle of the table kind of thing for Atlanta to do. And I think there'd even be some expectations that they could frame the contract in a way that the Ravens would be hesitant to match. But like I said, it seems like right now, at least, they're not willing to pay that high a price, even for a player as rare as Lamar Jackson is.
I would agree with that, and I make the same arguments around for the Buccaneers. A lot of Buccaneers fans are like, "What are we doing? We don't have a quarterback. You know, the salary cap is a myth. Let's go get him. Let's find out a way." And I believe in some ways the salary cap obviously can be circumvented, but when you're talking about 200 and you know, there's reports out there that he wants 250 million guaranteed, up to 300 million guaranteed for a guy that has been injured, as you said, and the way he plays is so unique. I mean, if you pay that, I mean, we could, if the Bucs were to do this, Greg, how many guys would they have to cut? How many, can you go forward with Chris Godwin, Vita Vea? I mean, it's just, you have to gut your team with this salary cap situation they're in.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with it is that, I mean, you can frame it in such a way. I mean, if you think about what the Saints just did with Derek Carr, I mean, Derek Carr is a lesser quarterback with a lesser salary, but I mean, they're giving him $35 million a year, and his cap number this year is like $7 million.
Right.
Which is a very Saints way of doing things, because they're going to pay for it in the next 2 years in a big way. But so the Bucs could frame it in such a way, and if the Bucs wanted to, if they wanted to go against the curve and guarantee 4 years and guarantee $200 million, it will piss off the rest of the NFL.
Yeah.
But it would be hard. It would be the kind of thing that would be prohibitive to have Baltimore match that, you know?
Yep.
And then you get into that principle of, do they want to fully guarantee that many years on a player who has been injured recently and hasn't been an every down player because of that? You know, you think about what the Browns did with Deshaun Watson, and that was, I mean, it could have been something where it's like, wow, now the expectation is that, you know, superstar contracts can be fully guaranteed, but it hasn't necessarily looked that good for Cleveland right now.
No.
You know, I mean, it's one of those where for them to do that with a player who came in with the baggage that Deshaun Watson came in, it's not like he came in and they went 7-0 with him. It's not like he immediately justified that move. And they're absolutely stapled to him for the next 4 years, no matter what he does on or off the field. So I think that if anything, has probably been more of a cautionary tale for franchises than a, hey, they did this, why don't you do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Derek Carr in there as well, going to New Orleans, and I found it interesting. You put the stats that Derek Carr had last year in Las Vegas, and you put the Saints, and I just, this is so crazy. 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions was what Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, and Taysom Hill combined for. 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions was Derek Carr, and the yards, once you prorated it, were almost identical, like 30 yards off or something like that. So how much do you really think that the impact is there for Derek Carr right now with the Saints, or an upgrade?
I mean, what the Saints have to trust is that they can do more with him than the Raiders did, which is tough sometimes because, I mean, he had Devontae Adams last year.
Right.
He had Darren Waller last year.
Right.
He won't have I mean, Chris Olave is absolutely an emerging talent. He's not going to have Michael Thomas. He'll be lucky if he has Juwan Johnson. So he's going to have less to work with. He'll probably have a better offensive line. I'll give him that. But I mean, I think it's seen as an upgrade. It's seen as something that now makes the Saints more of a team to beat. But if you line up the two numbers, you know, I mean, Dalton didn't play a full season, but what Andy Dalton did for $3 million last year isn't a whole lot different than what Derek Carr did for 10 times as much in Las Vegas.
Right.
So I think you'll have a motivated Derek Carr that's excited to have a new start in a division he thinks he can win, instead of him having to go through Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson, he's got, 3 teams that don't necessarily have a quarterback right now. So that part of it gets much easier for him. If he were at his age worried about the fact that he's never won a playoff game, this in theory is a path to a home football game he can win in January.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's too much more than that, but that's why it kind of makes sense for him. I don't know that it radically changes the division in terms of everybody looking up the Saints now and wondering how they're going to catch Derek Carr.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And we look at the Panthers now. We don't know what they're doing at quarterback. I think obviously they're going to draft one, and Frank Reich is going to tutor him, and hopefully he becomes the next guy. I don't know which guy that is if they're jumping up. Do you have any insight into who they're targeting and who you think takes a snap for the Panthers next year?
I don't. It's like I'm intrigued to see how far up they're willing to go.
Right.
And then I think if they stay at 9, you might be getting the 4th out of 9 quarterbacks. You're probably not getting, at least by the feel of it right now, you're not getting Young. You're not getting Stroud. You're probably not getting Richardson. So I think they have easily the firepower to get up to 5, to get up to 4. It certainly looks like the Bears are in a great position to just keep trading down over and over again, picking up picks.
Yeah.
Now, if the Bears go down from 4, they're not going to get an elite defender like a Will Anderson or a Jalen Carter or something like that. So at some point, the Bears will want to get something this year of substance for having had the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
But I do think, again, it should be an exciting player. They're not going to win because of their quarterback this year. I mean, this is something that will be exciting down the road. For rookie quarterbacks to come in and win and play well immediately is not an easy thing. There's not a long list of guys that come in and immediately lead a team to the playoffs. So that's something they'll kind of have to overcome. Or, as much as they run the ball, Carolina, they don't need the quarterback to come in and win for them. But it'll be kind of the weakness or the vulnerability on their roster until that guy gets some experience.
Greg Ahmed joining us here. It's been an age-old question, Greg, about how you build a championship team, and I think right now the conversation has never been as good, because you look at teams like the Eagles, who Jalen Hurts was maybe the best quarterback. Certainly the numbers were up there at $1.5 million. I think he made this year. Are this big money that you're paying Aaron Rodgers didn't elevate the Packers to the playoffs this year? So where do you go? Is it all about finding? But you gave up the farm for Matthew Stafford. You got a Super Bowl. You didn't have to give up the farm for Tom Brady, but you went and got a guy, paid him a lot of money, not homegrown. You won a Super Bowl. What's the template now? What are general managers seeing, and how does this Lamar Jackson conversation work into it? I think it's fascinating. I think there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, but where do you see in this copycat league the template going as far as that goes?
Yeah, it's hard, because even the super high quarterbacks that seem like no-brainers don't have immediate playoff success. I mean, you look at Justin Herbert, great quarterback, and here he is about to get that mega deal. He doesn't have a playoff win to show it. Josh Allen at one point wasn't that guy. I think he's probably ascended beyond that now, to where it's not a concern. But there's lots of young quarterbacks that, for whatever reason, don't get that immediate success. So the challenge is to win with a quarterback who's cheap enough that you can build around him, but not expensive enough that once they get that payday, you literally have $40 million you don't have to spend on a supporting cast for them. So it's kind of this: the moment you draft a guy, you're trying to develop him to be a championship quarterback before you have to pay him like a championship quarterback. And that's a tough clock to beat for a lot of NFL teams.
Yeah, it's so year to year now. It's crazy. And I think that's what really it is for general managers. You got to kind of figure out organically where your situation is and how to best, develop your template for success. And that's where the Bucs are right now, right? So it appears that their template is going to be rebuild. Take the big cap hit right now with the Brady money and try to see if Trask is the guy. And maybe draft a quarterback. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. What are your thoughts right now as far as what this rebuild looks like?
I would be a little surprised if they drafted a quarterback where they are right now, just because the top of the class will be long gone before they pick at 19. And I don't know that they would like a guy well enough to package next year's pick with this year's pick. That only probably gets you to about 10. And again, the top 3 are definitely gone, maybe the top 4 there. So I see how you could see that next tier, like a Hendon Hooker, and want to try that, but it feels a lot like Trask. And now you have 2 kind of long 3-pointer half-court shots that might be that, but it might just be you're trying the same thing over again. So I get the feeling that if they do things the right way from a salary cap pinch standpoint, this can be the worst of it this year. And they're still a little bit hindered next year, but not prohibitively. And a year from now, you're kind of reestablishing yourself with a new identity, whether that's Kyle Trask, whether that's a rookie quarterback, whether that's spending for a veteran. They're kind of in a better position to do one of those things a year from now than they are now.
Yeah.
So this is a year, again, and I don't know that they're putting it all on Trask. I mean, I think there's definitely options of guys they could bring in who wouldn't be any better or worse than Geno Smith was a year ago, that could have that kind of year if they get that from the same guy that got it out of Geno and Dave Canales here. But it's hard to hit that. That means, there's about 10 guys that are going to sign in the next 2 weeks in that $6 to $10 million range. And one of them is going to look like Geno Smith probably, but another one's going to look like Marcus Mariota or Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield, and you won't even remember what team they're on a year from now.
Right. Well, and as far as the draft goes, I mean, obviously, they need help in a lot of different areas. You get a feel for where they're headed in the first couple of rounds. What's your sense?
I don't, just because I don't think they know what they've lost yet. So in 2 weeks from now, if Jamel Dean is somewhere else, cornerback becomes a priority. If Levante David isn't re-signed, inside linebacker becomes a priority. Their pass rush and their defensive line, if they don't bring back the guys they have, those move to the top of the list. This is a team that I forget what the number is, but like their defensive free agents account for more than half of their snaps last year. So they could lose a ton.
Yeah.
It's like of the top 16 guys on defense last year, only 6 of them are under contract right now. So you have the framework for a good defense, but you don't really have but like a third of it right now.
Yeah.
And some of that's going to have to come in the draft. Some of that's going to have to come with nailing cheap free agents in the next month. But, the best thing they can do in the next 2 months is to use that first-round pick to nail it at a Winfield-Wirfs level. And, again, I think part of that is going to be, who's the guy that can be an every-down player for them. And it could be corner if Dean's gone. It could still be at a number of players. I'd be surprised if it's not on the defensive side, I'll tell you that.
And we've seen the Bucs fall back in the draft and pick up picks in years they really didn't need to.
Yeah.
And this year they really need to. So I think if you're betting in Vegas on whether the Bucs fall back and pick up more picks, I probably put that at about 75-80%. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's one of those where, every mock draft I'm intrigued to see. I'll look at like 19 and the 5 picks after it to see, what are the people that are in the conversation for the Bucs in this mock draft. And you'll still see really good frontline defensive players fall to 19, like Miles Murphy from Clemson will fall to 19 in some mock drafts. Nolan Smith from Georgia will fall to 19 in some drafts.
Wow.
Probably the second or third best corner, like Emmanuel Forbes, probably going to be there at 19. So if those guys aren't there, if there's like a lot of defensive picks that go ahead of them, if there isn't the run on tackles, I think is going to be there. They could trade down. And if you trade down 5 spots and you pick up a third-round draft pick, that might get you the same guy, and it might add another guy that is a starter or a contributor in another position. So I can see them trading down.
Yeah.
They're going to have probably a bigger reliance on rookies this year than they've had maybe since like 15, when they had
no question
Donovan Smith and Ali Marpet and Jameis Winston and Quan Alexander all playing as rookies. This will be a team that needs their rookies. So the more you have, it's kind of like the more swings you have, the more chances you have to hit a home run.
Yep.
And Greg, how did you interpret the cryptic post from Devin White that happened the other day? Because that was for like 30 minutes there. Everything was like falling apart in Buccaneer land.
Yeah. What he posted on Instagram and what he said on Twitter are two very different things. I'll start there. In that, the best scenario is that it's just really poor emoji choices, is what I would say. In that, the peace sign is not something you usually say to somebody you're excited about seeing for the next year. What struck me as odd is just the timing of it. And then, like, if this had happened the Monday after the season ended, like, hey man, 4 years has gone fast. Wow, that's normal. if it were the anniversary of the draft, you'd say, of course, he's looking back on this. This was the middle of nowhere. It's been 7 weeks since this even ended. So at a time when the team is having to make difficult decisions, it sets off a lot of flags. To see him post a checkered flag, you post a checkered flag at the end of something,
Pretty much.
And this shouldn't be the end of something for Devin White. So it seemed a little odd. I don't know what led him to that. I mean, these players, trust me, players can overreact to something that is or isn't related to the team and finances and their future. And so when we say it's cryptic, we mean that. We don't know what it means. But it definitely seemed like somebody who was at least very publicly dealing with the possibility that, he's talking about God having patience and a plan for him, which you wouldn't say if it was just another year of the same thing usually. I mean, you say next stop and a checkered flag, that sounds like the end of something. So I don't know whether something bothered him or he didn't get the number he was hoping for in terms of early talk about an extension.
Right.
Todd Bowles has been extremely complimentary of Devin White in terms of praising him in a way that most critics have not this past year. So, I think he has his coach's back, and that's a defensive-minded coach that knows a lot about what he needs. But anyway, I would just say it was curious, and I'm going to keep my eye out in the next couple of weeks to make sure everything is as peaceful as they're making it out to be.
It feels, and the timing as well, right before the franchise tag, and as the Bucs are trying to get under the number, he's got $11.2 million due this year. They would obviously like to extend him and bring that number down, and I'm guessing his representatives want Roquan Smith money, and he's not worth that. And I don't think the Bucs want to invest that kind of money in an inside linebacker, especially one that has. And we love Devin, we love a lot about him, but the film is the film. And I don't know about you, Greg, but when I hear Todd talk about him, I'm like, is that Devin White he's talking about?
Well, it's one of those where, it's kind of like any job. You want your boss to like you more than anyone likes you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's the important guy to keep happy.
Right.
And Todd Bowles, to his credit, has not even been remotely critical of Devin White at times when lots of people are critical of Devin White.
Right.
So he's defended him in a way that's beyond just like, I want to praise this guy because we might be trading him, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a loyalty there. But there's also the possibility that a year from now, Todd Bowles isn't the coach, and you have somebody coming in, and then he might be inheriting a $100 million linebacker he doesn't think as much of.
Exactly.
So they kind of have to make a lot of decisions with personnel in the next year. But the decision to give Devin White mega linebacker money is probably a tougher decision than extending Tristan Wirfs at $20 million a year, or extending Antoine Winfield as a top paid safety, and that's what they have to process.
All right, Greg, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. I know you're a busy man this time of year, so we will be watching your Twitter as we always do, waiting for something to pop at Greg Allman and covering the NFC South for Fox Sports. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it, partner.
Oh, you guys take care. Have a good one.
All right, Greg Allman there. Some good stuff. I totally agree with him on every point there. It seems like, as much as I would like the Bucs to draft Hendon Hooker at 19, it seems like the timing may not be right for that. The risk may be too much, especially with so much that you have. But,
yeah, and it's really that last point, and you can't think of it like this, obviously, when you're Jason Licht and you're Todd Bowles. But if these guys are no longer here after this season, then you got a head coach that's inheriting a high draft pick of a quarterback they may not be in love with. It's the same thing with the Devin White deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's a hard kind of issue right now for Jason Licht to deal with.
It just feels like this whole situation for the Buccaneers is dysfunctional, and I say that in this way. It's like you're kind of starting over, right? You're fixing the salary cap. You're kind of starting over, but you're keeping your coach, some of your assistants, bringing in neophyte coaches that maybe aren't very expensive, jettisoning a lot of coaches that were, more than you needed and more money than you needed to pay.
And the top players you have aren't exactly the ones you'll be rebuilding with.
Right. So it's a lot of it seems like it's like, okay,
they're no man's land.
They're no man's. That's a great term.
They are right now in the 16 to 22 area in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that from like a power ranking standpoint, in my opinion. They're in that 16 to 22 range where you really don't want to be.
Yeah.
You want to be identifiable. Hey, we suck. We're rebuilding. We're at the top of the draft, whatever. or we want to be obviously competing in the playoffs. And I don't think the Bucs are honestly. I don't think their roster shows that they're competing, and I don't think their roster shows that they're completely tearing down rebuild. I think, unfortunately, they're somewhere in that middle spectrum.
Yeah.
Even with the quarterback uncertainty at the moment.
And with that, you can't make long-term commitments in a time when you're just cleaning your house, right? It's like, let's clean the house and we'll figure out, let's, get it down to the bones. Do we want to sell it? Do we want to keep it? Do we want to rent it? Do we want to renovate it and stay here? Like, what do we want to do? And I think, if I'm looking at what they've done so far and the big meeting that they had a couple of weeks ago with ownership, what did Jason Light say? What was his directive, his suggestion to the Buccaneers? Let's go out and get a experienced quarterback right now, sell the farm, get a Derek Carr, keep it going, blah blah blah. Well, it's clear that's not the road they're going. So to me, everything they're doing now is about the rebuild, and I think Todd Bowles is just like, hey, let's give Todd an extra year. If it doesn't work out, then we move on with, and the new guy that comes in can. Hey, with Jason Light, where is he in the middle of this? Is he going to be part of the rebuild? I would think that the Glazers probably have enough trust in him and have built a relationship with him to say, yeah, we're willing to Howie Roseman you, and you gave us the Super Bowl before, so go do it again. Do it what Philadelphia's doing. We'll put it in your hands. And, and this is where it gets dysfunctional, because what Jason Light is doing in terms of executing that plan is not what Todd Bowles wants to do. Because Todd Bowles has to win now. You got a head coach that has to win now to save his job, but a general manager who's looking down the road and trying to set this organization up to be the best it can be. And with the way that the NFL is set up, with the more you suck, the better chance you have to get better. Don't want to use the T word, but it's not tanking, it's restructuring.
Yeah, and their division makes it tough for them to even do a true rebuild at the moment. Because the division is so chaotic right now and it's winnable, that's a good way to put it.
You're tempted to just like, let's
that's
just
what I'm
try
saying.
to win.
Like, if you were playing in the, let's just name a random division. What's a good division? I can't even think right now.
AFC West.
Sure, the AFC West, the NFC North, or the NFC East was just really good last year, right? If you're sitting in one of those divisions, it's a little bit easier to stomach a rebuild.
Yeah, because you're like, we're not catching those guys this year. We're going to get our ass kicked. So let's just rebuild.
Like how Greg kind of just said, when I asked him about Derek Carr, and those numbers are fascinating, by the way, how they're exactly the same.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's what I said. I understand, and I would have said the same thing about the Bucs. Derek Carr puts you in the lead, but it does not put you over the top.
Exactly. So, New Orleans is taking that track. The Bucs are taking another one. Which one will get to the Super Bowl faster? That's the question. So, and what are the Falcons doing? Let's find out. Dave Archer will join us next. Falcons radio analyst, former NFL quarterback. We'll get his take on why the Falcons aren't in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. This will be fascinating. Stay with us. The boys are back. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns March. 4 days of incredible golf plus a host of activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. There is more to the Valspar than just great golf. It's the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Snake Pit Club, accessible by premium tickets, and other great venues throughout the course for those with ground tickets. And new in 2023 is the Rooftop, a new prestigious venue at the 18th green with music, food, and fun. Plus, you never know who you're going to see at the Rooftop. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595 or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and the great folks at Italiano Insurance. Do your insurance checkup now, and Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, for testosterone replacement. And if you want to lose some weight, too, they've got that great True Body machine, too, where you don't have to do anything, and it just takes the fat right off you. Can't wait to get on that sucker. All right, let's welcome in our good friend Dave Archer from Falcons Radio, their analyst, former NFL quarterback. What's up, Dave? How are you, my friend?
JP, doing good, man. Weather's finally turned better up here in Atlanta. The flowers are blooming, trees are blooming. We're excited about springtime.
The Masters must not be far behind. And
far away, baby.
Yeah,
Not far away.
I know you're out on the golf course, no question about that. So thanks for taking some time for us to discuss a possible Lamar Jackson to the Falcons. That got nipped in the bud. I thought that was a real likelihood, but tell us why the Falcons are not interested.
Well, I think there's a number of reasons why, JP. I think that when you look at the Falcons, what they just climbed out from underneath of, you've got one of the guys down there that had a big paycheck that was still coming from the Falcons in Julio Jones. Ryan's contract finally comes off the books this year. Atlanta was in cap hell, and I think that that's the first thing that makes you pause, because it's not like you're going to pay Lamar Jackson a minimum when he comes down here. So if he were to come down here, it looks like the contract is certainly $200 million and the bulk of it guaranteed. This is for a guy that has played just 22 of the last 32 games. He's missed 5 games in each of the last 2 seasons. His performance has diminished significantly in the last 2 years as well, since his MVP season. That gives you some pause. And then if you're going to get him, now that they've placed that transitional franchise tag on him, it would cost you 2 first-round draft picks. That's a pretty steep price to pay. You're going to cap yourself pretty hard with the money. You don't know you're going to get a full season out of the guy. I mean, I can't have my starting quarterback earning $40 or $50 million a year that's plays 12 games a year, which is what he's done the last 2 seasons. And then the fact you give away draft capital, which is what this team needs to try to rebuild. So this seems like it's 3 strikes, you're out. And I think that's where Atlanta is on it.
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. And I hear people talking about collusion and all this, and Daniel Jones is getting this, and I don't agree with all the money they're handing out to some of these young quarterbacks. And I think when you look at the guaranteed deals for Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson and even Aaron Rodgers' deal, he wasn't able to elevate his team to the playoffs. It doesn't seem like a winning strategy right now to pay quarterbacks this much money, even the great ones.
Well, and you couple that, and I agree with you on that, JP, but then you couple with that, look at Lamar's style of play. Right. He's a guy that is dynamic running with the football. And he's developed into a solid passer, certainly his MVP year, in an outstanding year throwing the ball. Now, that's waned the last couple seasons as far as his ability to affect you passing the football, especially from sideline to sideline. He's an inside the numbers thrower. Mm-hmm. But when you start thinking about the health of the player, I mean, Justin Fields came here this year and Atlanta beat the hell out of him. I mean, they literally had to help him get off the field a couple of times. And Chicago's talking about how can they enhance the passing game. They're not talking about running the football. Right. They're talking about how do I help Justin Fields better throw the ball, get players around him, better offensive line, all that kind of stuff. Well, you got to have money to do that, to bring guys in. And if Atlanta straps themselves a $200 million quarterback or $250 million quarterback, how much money is there to go around to help whoever's playing quarterback in that situation? Because you can go down the list of guys that have won Super Bowls, and you can talk about Patrick Mahomes as a guy that can move around. He's not a runner. Nope. You know, Tom Brady, who won a championship a couple years ago down there, he's not running. Matt Stafford, who won a championship 2 years ago, he's not running around doing anywhere. So your last 4 quarterbacks that have won championships, Patrick Mahomes with a couple of those, they're not running quarterbacks. This was supposed to be the year that that some of these guys broke through, and it didn't happen. And I think that the wear and tear on quarterbacks is something you got to take into effect and into account if you're going to pay him that kind of money.
Agreed.
Yeah, and obviously Atlanta has the luxury of having Desmond Ridder there, and we don't know what he's going to become, but we have this conversation in Tampa all the time with Kyle Trask. We haven't gotten a chance to see Kyle Trask really in a game situation, even in that Week 18 game against Atlanta.
Could have.
We could have gotten more out of him, but we got, a couple series. And so we don't have much to go off of. And I guess my question is, how important was it, do you think, for Atlanta, for management, for Arthur Smith and everybody, to at least get to see that cup of coffee with Desmond Ridder last year in those 2 starts, as opposed to the Bucs, who are really going in with this blind with Kyle Trask?
No, it's a great point, and it's something that was probably calculated, certainly by the Falcons staff here, is, how long do you ride with Marcus Mariota? Because Marcus did some good things. He was Player of the Week 1 week in the NFC, had a couple of really good outings, but there was, people were wanting a little bit. Is Mariota your future? He was only 28 years old, so I guess there was a chance that he could potentially rekindle his career, but it just didn't seem to be coming to life in the passing game. And you guys know, you guys have been down there watching it in Tampa. When Tampa's been good, it's fine to be able to run the football, and Atlanta can run it up here. They've run it to the tune of 150, 160 yards a game, which was 3rd or 4th best in the league. But the explosive plays come in the passing game, and you've got to be able to make plays in the passing game. We just were not doing that. You guys watched it firsthand with the way Brady made plays down the field. And so if you're going to be a viable option, you got offense, you got to make plays. And I think Ridder gives them that opportunity. He's got much bigger arm. He's a guy that still can move around and run.
Yep.
And you could argue his resume is as good as any college quarterback coming out this year, if you go back and look at Ridder's resume at Cincinnati. So I think, the 4 games he got a chance to play, they got a little sampling, and he got better each and every week, won a couple games at the end, albeit maybe against some pared-down rosters, certainly against Tampa maybe.
Yep.
But albeit he got better, and I think they like the way he handled his business, guys. He's a guy that shows up from the day he got here as a rookie. His first day, he was in the building at 6 a.m. And Arthur Smith was stunned. He said, "I got to beat the guy in the building," and I love that about him as well.
Yeah. So you think Falcons are going to stick with Ridder and going to build around him for the foreseeable future?
I think Ridder will be option 1. I do think that they're going to add to the quarterback room. I don't think there's any question about that. Whether it's in the draft, unless they've fallen in love with one of these guys at 8, I just can't see them doing that. I think there's too many other places because you've got a young quarterback already, and I think they like what Ridder, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
So do you find one in the 2nd or 3rd day that you'd burn a draft pick on? Potentially. But I think you're more likely to see a veteran quarterback come in here that can be a complementary piece, maybe a guy that helps in the room, that can be a stopgap guy, and you ride with Ridder. Yeah.
Dave Archer joining us from Falcons Radio. So take a gander around the NFC South now and tell me who's going to be taking the snaps. Obviously, we know Derek Carr, so tell me what you think of the Saints with Derek Carr, who you think the Panthers might bring in, how they're going to go, and do you think Kyle Trask is going to be the guy in Tampa?
Well, I think you got to be excited if you're in New Orleans. I think Derek Carr, there's a lot of upside to Carr. I think that the guy has proven that he can be a really good passer in this league. It looks like the cast of characters around him will be pretty solid.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is pretty solid. They do have a bit of a run game. Their defense is outstanding. I would say their defense is probably better than what he had in Oakland, or not Oakland, in Vegas. Oh God, yes. So yeah, I would think that's probably an attractive situation there for New Orleans. For Carolina, who knows? Carolina draft a quarterback. Are they going to go with the young kid that got hurt out of Mississippi that was there last year? You got to figure they're going to add something in some capacity there. And then you guys, guys just talked about Kyle Trask. I would assume he's going to get an opportunity, but why are you guys not going after Lamar Jackson?
We're strapped in cap. There's just absolutely no. It's the same. It's not. It's the same reasons that you brought up, right? Except it's 10 times worse here. They got to take a $35 million charge for Brady. If they were to bring Lamar in and pay that money, you're putting all your chips in the middle, and you're probably not going to be able to hang on to a Chris Godwin or a Vita Vea. I mean, core players. We need a rush, an edge rusher. Need an inside linebacker, probably. Devin White might have to go. I mean, you'd have to gut your team to bring him in. So it's same thing, and all your chips are going in the middle for a guy that hasn't finished the last 2 seasons. So I don't. It's prohibitive for us right now in the situation that the Bucs are in. But I need to ask you about this too. I'm a big fan of Hendon Hooker. And I think he can play in this league. And I think everybody says they have a first-round grade on him, but yet, he's hurt and he's not. Who cares? He'll be ready to play probably sooner than later. He says he's going to be ready to go by training camp. I would take, if I'm the Bucs, I would take him. What do you think of Hendon Hooker?
I like Hendon Hooker, JP. I think you're right. He can play in the league. My problem with him is his health. He was hurt at Virginia Tech. He gets hurt again at Tennessee. I don't know that he can stay on the field. He's a he's a tall guy, got a good arm.
Yeah.
He's slightly built. I had a chance to call a couple of Virginia Tech games when he was there as a young quarterback there. He's a long, lanky kid, and he's susceptible to injury clearly because of what has happened in his college career. Now, unfortunate what happened to him in Tennessee this year. There's a chance he could have won the Heisman Trophy. There's no question the way he was playing coming down the stretch for Tennessee. But I agree with you. He can play. My pause on him is the health issue. I just don't know that he can stay on the field.
Interesting. Well, this NFC South is going to be up for grabs, no question about it. And our argument right now, I'd love to get your take on this as we get out of here. How do you build a championship team now with the young quarterback that's not very costly and build around him? Do you go find the veteran free agent? Because that's what's worked. That worked for the Rams. It worked for the Buccaneers. Mahomes is Mahomes, right? So if you're a general manager and you're starting a team right now, where are you going? What's your template vis-a-vis paying big money to a quarterback, drafting, developing, going to get a free agent? Or does it just simply depend on where your team is at that particular time that's going to dictate the template? And there is no best way to go about it. You just got to kind of figure it out as you go. How do you see it now?
No, I think the latter, what you just said there, is where is your team at? Is your team a signal caller away, a guy that's confident, a guy that's going to make plays for you but not hurt you? Is there a guy out there like that that can put you over the top? I think obviously if you're a team that's struggling like the Texans, Atlanta here, maybe the Colts, you're going to go get one of the young quarterbacks. We got ours last year. I think those two teams will both get quarterbacks early on in the draft, and then you try to build around them, put a good offensive line together. You need to be able to play some defense, get teams off the field. That's where Atlanta, to me, is going to go in the draft. And if you want to turn Vita Vea loose and Devin White loose, we'll take them up here in Atlanta right now. I mean, we would love to have some guys that can stop the run game, put you in third and long situations, and that was something Atlanta couldn't do. Right. They were okay in the red zone, but from 20 to 20, Atlanta couldn't stop anybody, and that gives your young quarterback more opportunities in a game.
Yeah. I think you're right. Dave, great stuff as always, my friend. Appreciate your perspective, and it's going to be an interesting NFC South this year. No question about it. Thanks, partner.
Well, thanks, buddy. Go get on that machine where you don't have to really ever do anything and you can lose weight. I got to find me one of those.
15 minutes, right, is equal to like 350,000 crunches or some crazy stuff. So I'm trying it out. So
wow.
I'm going to get that ripped body for summertime. You know how that works, Dave.
I hear you. Let me know how that goes.
You already have that, so you don't have to worry about it.
Enjoy the sunshine, baby.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Great Dave Archer there. It's – who wins the NFC South now? Obviously, the Saints are odds-on favorites, but this is a crazy league. Who's to say that maybe the Bucs find some lightning in a bottle in Kyle Trask?
Yeah, I don't think any of these teams are truly like. When I say bad, do I think the Falcons are like a really bad football team? Because I feel like they showed me something last year in moments.
I tell you what, Arthur Smith has them playing hard. They play smart football. They don't make a whole lot of mistakes. They physically beat you up.
And I'm a Ritter fan. I mean, I got to see him up close. Obviously, the times against UCF.
I like what I saw.
I mean, he fits the mold of what you want in a quarterback. He can move a little bit, big arm. I mean, you just heard the things Dave said. Arthur Smith loves him, obviously.
The way he goes about his business,
Yeah, and the more you hear, you got to see him play for 4 games.
Yeah.
You got to see it.
I wish I just won.
And that's not even with Kyle Pitts in the mold.
Yeah.
Who I think still has generational talent at that position. Mm-hmm. If he could stay on the field and they could learn how to use him a little more.
Yeah.
Algier just ran for 1,000 yards. Drake London is really good.
He's a player, though.
He's a player. I think that defense is slowly coming along. So I don't think the Falcons are a bad team. I think Carolina, if they nail the quarterback,
on the
could compete for the division this year.
And they've got draft assets. they've got a chance to make.
Yeah.
And I like their coach.
So it's
I think right now he's the best coach in the. I don't know. I like Arthur Smith. I like where he's going, but I think Frank Reich is the most proven coach in the division.
I think Dennis Allen and Bowles to me are like this.
Yeah. They're defense coordinator. They're almost the same.
They've
dude,
had previous
right?
stops already where it wasn't that great.
Wasn't great. Got elevated because your Super Bowl winning coach left. It wasn't necessarily didn't win the coaching search, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think they're very similar, and they've got a lot to prove as head coaches, the both of them. And so does they all do. It is the biggest question mark division in football, bar none.
I can make a case, honestly, if I had time to, I could make a case for every team to win the division this year.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are bad teams. I think the Falcons at their lowest are like a 6-win football team.
Yeah.
They're not like a 3-win team,
It's funny. You hear this conversation all the time that the NFL is full of 8-8 teams, right? They're full of 8-8 teams. And we'll start there, because the parity in the league is tremendous.
Last year it was crazy.
Yeah, and so you just never know what puts you over the top. Health is a big freaking deal. Getting key injuries at key spots is going to sink you. I don't care what your roster looks like. Quarterback play is obviously huge, and it's such a question mark in this division right now. We don't even know who two of the four quarterbacks are going to be. So that's a big part of it. And then, coaching and how the culture is built. Where's the Bucs culture right now? It ain't good. The head coach said it had to be rebuilt. Where's the Saints culture right now? It's weird. Got a lot of off the field.
They're still trying to figure out without Sean Payton what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. There's no identity to that football team right now. Derek Carr gives you a little bit, but it just seems a little wonky.
Yeah.
It seems a little wonky.
Carolina, I thought, had something going with Steve Wilkes.
Yeah.
And now they have to rebuild that.
It seems like they've got a good nucleus, in terms of their building on the offensive and defensive lines, which is where you want to be. And they've got draft capital. Their quarterback choice is going to be everything. It's going to be everything in how that guy develops. But he's going to be behind what is a good running game and a decent offensive line, right?
Yeah.
And a quarterback driven team because of your coaching staff.
Yeah, and Frank Reich, he made magic out of Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I know that we're talking, 6 years removed from this now.
So they seem to have a lot of DNA that's working moving forward.
Yeah.
Whereas, the Bucs seem like we're trying to hold on a little bit, like see where it goes. The Saints are kind of in the same place, like let's take a flyer, let's get the quarterback.
Because the Saints are kind of like the Bucs in that they have all these veterans that have been around for a while.
Right.
And you're caught in the middle of, hey, do we really want to go into a rebuild? Now these veterans, they don't want to stick around for this.
Right.
We've got these team legends like Cam
Bucs
Jordan,
could have done
DeMario.
the same thing that the Saints are doing, but they could have done the same thing with Derek Carr. They both were in cap hell, and I wouldn't have been against it.
I think I would have been against it.
I wouldn't.
Truthfully, after the whole thing with Brady happened, where they had to take on the cap hit, I would have been completely against bringing any quarterback on that money.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is.
And so, so now to me, it's like, whichever way you choose, get it right, get the right quarterback, make the right draft picks, and then you can continue to win in this division. So, now you're rebuilding. All right, get the right quarterback. Make the right draft picks, and it might take you a year, but then I think you'll be in a better position moving forward than the Saints will. But you're going to give up a year, so I think that's where kind of it falls.
Yeah.
And and I think if I'm looking at any of these teams right now, where I think the best long-term success is probably in Carolina or Atlanta.
Well, they got a head because they've got a head start on. They've got a head start on building the next team that's going to take over.
Carolina took their lumps last year.
Yeah.
They got rid of their high-priced players. They got draft assets back for.
Yeah, they've been doing this since Cam Newton. Really, they've had all this time since they parted ways with Cam Newton. They've had all that time to really start to think about it.
And it sucked for
them.
It did. And hopefully for the Bucs, it's only 1 year, and they'll have their quarterback situation figured out in a year from now. It's either going to be, hey, we're moving forward with Kyle Trask. He had a really good year. We saw a lot of growth. Or we drafted a quarterback, and that guy turned out to be really, really good, and we're moving forward. Or we're going into the 2024 draft, finding our quarterback with a high draft pick.
Or who knows? One of these guys, one of these veterans they might bring in. I mean, I think it's unlikely, given the names that we're hearing, that any of these guys are going to remarkably just turn into a Geno Smith. But,
Right.
I mean, Jacoby Brissett is still the name that I keep going back to. I think he's my favorite option of all these bridge quarterbacks, if you will, because I've seen him be able to win games and be productive. I'm not talking high-end production.
Right.
But I think rock-solid production. I think he fits the mold. I don't think if you bring a Baker Mayfield or a Drew Lock, I don't think you're getting any of that, to be honest, from you.
I think Baker's got some upside, but the personality is...
The personality, and Scott said it yesterday, and I agree. I just cannot see the personality, how it sits with, if he's not the starter, how he's going to react.
Right. I agree. Whereas a Jacoby Brissett kind of has been the placeholder
He knows what
guy.
it's like.
He knows what that is. He seems like the good fit guy. All right, we'll take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and kind of hit the bolts a little bit after last night. We kind of forgot all about him with all the stuff going on in the NFL. Didn't mean to do that, so we'll get back and hit the bolts when we come back. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. Hey guys, JP here for the Gold and Diamond Source. There is no better place to shop for jewelry than the Gold and Diamond Source. We know that. They are the family jewelers, and they will treat you like family. It's always a fun experience. Just head on over there. You will not find a better selection anywhere in the world. It's a jewelry super center. They've got engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, pendants, chains, and thousands of diamonds to choose from. They're all right there. They don't have to ship anything in. They have jewelry for every price range as well. Guys, if you're looking for some of those baller watches, they have a great selection. They have new and used. You can get some great collectibles there as well. And if you're looking for some more affordable gold and diamond jewelry, you have to check out the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Emily created this collection for people who want to wear and stack elaborate jewelry but don't want to pay the big ticket prices. You got to check this stuff out. The Gold and Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, interest-free financing for up to 5 years, and a layaway program, 20% down and only 6 monthly payments. And this month only, get up to 15% off the March birthstone, which is aquamarine. Like we always say, keep it local, folks. The Gold and Diamond Source, Julie and Steve Weintraub, such great philanthropic benefactors. So let's keep it all local here when we have the opportunity, right? It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to lose weight or just lean up for bathing suit season where there are so many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there? You don't know where to start, right? We'll start at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and will help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently. Many of these other approaches are designed for the masses. So how's that going to work for you specifically? It's not. Chris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you so the weight comes off safely without the use of harmful drugs and side effects. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
Kucherov, right circle, Killorn, try to pass for point that's blocked. Killorn gets it back, right circle. Right point, Kucherov. Center point, Sergachev. Right circle, Kucherov. Fire, score!
There you go, top of the face-off circle.
Kucherov, a power play goal. The Lightning have their second power play goal tonight. They lead 2-1.
And the Lightning go on to win 5-2 over the Flyers. 3 for 6 on the power play last night. 3 for 3 on the penalty kill last night. And Tony DeAngelo was 1 for 1 on spearing Corey Perry right in the cojones. And he immediately got dogpiled. And
that dude's trash, man.
Yeah, that was just.
He's always been like that.
Yeah, that was just ridiculous. If you didn't see it, it was a post scrum. Everybody standing around. He just skates over and takes his stick and spears Corey Perry right in the onions. That was some BS. Yeah. And then 5 Lightning players jumped on top of him.
Yeah. He's having a hearing today.
Yeah, he'll get a couple games for that, no question about it. And the Lightning looked better last night. Their puck possession was better. Their breakouts were better. Simon was better. Tanner Jeannot was better. He had an assist. 2 goals for Killer, 2 goals for Cooch. Both had 3-point nights. Great job by the Lightning last night, but it's against a Flyers team that is not very good. Let's just be honest. They got Vegas coming in Thursday. Totally different deal.
Yeah, that to me, that's the litmus test at this point. How do you respond? Because last night it's hard to glean. I mean, you won the game, right? You did what you were supposed to do to Philly, but it's not like Philly didn't have their chances.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
They did.
You got better. You got better from Vasilevsky, other than the first goal, which I think he'd love to have back.
Yeah, that was not good.
A little bit. I was listening last night to you and Brian talking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it seemed like all in all, a much better effort last night, especially from that top line.
Yeah. We got a little Coop.
Yeah, we got a little Coop here.
He was very short last night, but upbeat. And that was good.
Confidence, how much of a game like this can help build that back up?
It's like the big thing for me was when we fell behind 1-0, and then we came back and power play was on tonight. So, but I the rebound after going down 1-0, that was big for me, and the boys took it home after that.
Is that kind of something that's kind of sagged you down during that 5-game stretch where you would have those sags in games?
I don't know. I just like the response.
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on Mikey and Tanner and just what they're bringing to this team towards the end of the season here.
Well, I think I feel great for them because that was their first win with us. But I thought both of them had a positive impact in the game. Tanner creates a lot of space out there for line mates, and I thought Mikey was all over the ice tonight in a positive way. So, 2 big additions for our team that are going to help us.
Yeah, I think both those guys played better, and that to me is a big key moving down the stretch. How much do they give the Lightning? What Julian Breesbaugh was looking for, and what I saw in Mikey's game last night was good. Casey Hudson said this in the post. He gets rid of the puck really quick. He creates chances for everybody else. The forecheck was really good last night. Jeannot is a guy that people certainly give space around the net. I think he's going to be a net front presence. And as Chief said last night on the broadcast, that knockout punch that Jeannot had goes around the league like wildfire. And people know.
That was the highlight of the weekend that we didn't even touch on. That's great. That's great.
That was I rarely see somebody get dropped like that. It was funny because he knew he had hurt him. And even Jeannot was right away. Was like, "Oh, damn, sorry, man. Didn't mean to knock you out."
Let it be. Go Scott Stevens on his ass and run away.
Yeah, it's good to see. We definitely didn't do that. Maybe you should have.
Hey, before we sign off real quick, I know we didn't mention it too much today, but I did want to get it in here real quick because today was International Women's Day, so I did want to give a shout-out to all the women in sports.
Oh, yeah.
All the great female athletes. You mentioned Casey Hudson, who is a star in this market right now. I'll just ask you real quick on the spot, who's the greatest women's athlete of all time?
Serena.
I was going to say Serena, too.
Serena. I don't think.
I'd have
to start thinking really hard, but no, I don't even think it's a debate. She dominated her sport for 20-plus years.
She could make the case she's the greatest overall athlete of all time.
You could.
I've said that last year. She's on the Mount Rushmore.
When you look at how you dominate your sport, whatever your sport is, who did it better than Serena? Maybe Tiger, but Tiger didn't even get to 18. If you say dominate your sport, that means you have to have the most major championships in a situation like that. Brady, maybe, but for women, I don't think it's close. Is there anybody else that's close to that? I mean, you could go back to
Billie Jean King is seen as very influential. The first influential female athlete, probably.
Yeah, the field wasn't nearly as deep as it was for Serena, and she didn't even, no. There's who am I thinking of back in the day? Babe Zaharias. When you start looking at some of the Olympic athletes as well. you could get into it, but Serena, I think,
She's above.
Yeah, no question. And in my lifetime, how women in sports has changed in the broadcast world and in sports in general. I mean, we never talked about women's sports really 30 years ago, and now I watch a lot of women's sports. I do. I watch a lot of women's golf. I watch women's tennis. I watch women's volleyball. Women's sports in the Olympics interest me, in gymnastics and figure skating. So I think women have come a long way, and rightfully so. And they're tremendous athletes and obviously tremendous broadcasters. And it's as much as you hate this country, so many people hate this country. We work towards making it right and getting it right. Other places don't do it as well as we have done it. Now we're backtracking, unfortunately, but we had a run where everyone was getting more opportunity, and that's the way it should be. And that's the way, we've kind of fallen back, I think, in the last few years with some other shenanigans that are going on that are hurting women, frankly, and hurting women's sports. But all in all, I'm glad you brought that up. And, yeah, I think it's made everything better, no question about it. All right, thanks to Greg Allman today and Dave Archer, who joined us. We will be back the next 7 broadcasts without my man here, who will be off getting married. So you're going to hear a lot of new voices on with me over the next couple weeks, hopefully, so I can get through some shows. So it'll be fun. We're going to have fun with it. We'll maybe get some of you guys on, Jordan, and some of you other guys that comment all the time. Maybe get you guys on to do some guest spotting, and we'll hear some different voices. So it'll be fun over the next couple weeks. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck to you, my friend, and I'll see you on Saturday.